Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra ready for IFR departure runway 34 left. Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra cleared for takeoff runway 34 left.
Okay, let's get the autopilot done, and welcome to today's video. So, the purpose of this video is just sort of in a bit of a response to a comment I got the other day on the previous video, just because of all the issues that happened. The comment basically was blaming me for the way that I was flying and handling, and I'm totally fine with the comment and the opinion, and yes, I was not flying the best or the most accurate, but again, this was, my entire video series has been based around kind of the casual interactions with a bit of toe dipping into the other areas to have a bit of fun. So the oscillation was blamed on high speed, which from other videos has not been a problem, and as soon as I took control of the plane, the oscillation kind of went away to a degree. So what I wanted to do was just a very simple couple of flights here. I'm basically going to take off from the same airport, but I'm going to come in on a different approach vector here and just kind of come around and in, and we'll see what happens with the plane. I'm not at all sure what it's going to do, but you saw the difference when I pulled out the CJ4, and I was basically flying on the edge of overspeed just because I wanted to get at my destination. No, planes don't typically fly at overspeed. And yes, planes that are flying at higher speeds closer to their limits do have some odd behaviors, but that's the purpose of overspeed. Before those behaviors become out of control, the overspeed warning goes off and allows you to slow down before you get into a dangerous situation, and the autopilot should be capable of handling a fair portion of that. So, I'm going to take off, try to make a left bank. Let's take a look at what my sensitivity settings are currently set to, because it's all reset every time. So let's come in here to flight controls. Where's the primary flight surfaces? Okay, axis is set to left trigger, so hopefully that works. Let's look at sensitivity. Everything's still set to -90 on the left right, so we should be fairly smooth until the last little moment where we kind of jump up. But let's see how well that works, because I typically don't do a lot of jumping, and I'm curious if I tried to max it out the other way what it would do. I try to ease into my maneuvers. So we have a few things that we need to set first in order for this to function. So first, let's turn on the nav. I gotta remember all the different systems here. We're gonna go up to 3,000 first, so we'll probably get there fairly quickly. I'm just gonna set that to that. Like everything just toggled on night mode. I'm gonna turn on vertical speed. We'll do a nice leisurely climb, no big deal, and we're all set. So I'm gonna take off, make my left bank, hopefully on my own without crashing. I will hopefully come back in where I can turn on autopilot and get this thing a-moving. So with that said, flaps are down, so let's see if I can zoom in any here. Yep, there we go. So let's try to get this so you can see my ailerons here. So on the right side there at the bottom of the screen, I'm going to ease into it. I'm in the dead zone now. I'm coming out of the dead zone, and I'm starting to push on the aileron. You can see how it kind of jumps. So this is about 50%. You can see how little it's moving there, just a couple of pixels. This is dead zone, edge of dead zone, and you can see now, boom, we go to full. That's the downside to the way this works. So that is definitely going to make this plane pitch and roll pretty hard. But this is not quite full. This is about 60%, 70%, and that's as high as it goes. So the reason I have it set as such a numb, dead stick is because the plane reacts so wildly that it just seems to want to go crazy out there. So that as soon as I'm off, the plane's already starting to pitch and roll, and it's going to be hard for you to see with me behind the plane. I'll try to stay a little zoomed in here, and hopefully do one more in case the plane moves. You can see how little the plane moves, and if I go full stick, you should see the spoilers pop up to really cause the plane to move. So you'll see, or should see, when I get overexcited, because this is about 90% now, about 95, blip, up everything shoots. So you can see the elevator there. So let's throttle up. I'm going to go to full throttle. Parking brake is off. Rudder does not appear to be working as intended. It's kind of there. Alright. We are rolling. Weather doesn't seem too bad right now. The plane's automatically doing its pull-up. I'm going to ease off the ground. Retract flaps. See, I'm not doing anything yet. I'm going to ease off on the throttle. So I haven't done anything yet, but you can see how unstable this thing is. Like, it just wants to pitch over. It does not want to fly. Okay, now I'm bringing the elevators up to try and keep the plane from climbing too high. We are climbing way fast here. Okay. We're turning. You can see 0 oscillation at the moment. I need to throttle way down. Wasn't paying enough attention because we are almost in the overspeed zone at 340 indicated. I'm still climbing way too fast, so I'm going to put a little more down on that. Throttle back up to 45%. We're at 290 knots right now. I think we've angled down a little much, but I climbed a bit high, so I need to turn a bit more. You can see I still haven't banked my wings at full tilt yet, because the elevator, or the slats and spoilers on the wings have not popped up. So with that said, let's come back in here. I think I'm going to need to, what's my altitude? 3,400. I need to increase, oops, I screwed the pooch on that one, hit the wrong button, whoop. Trying to fly one-handed and keep an eye on everything here. So let's get autopilot engaged. Now I am no longer in control of the plane. You can see my speed is right on the edge because I'm going a little bit too fast. So I'm going to throttle this thing down to about 34%. Okay. Let's get this thing up. We'll climb up. You can see how jittery the plane is on its own. It's not really more stable than when I was flying it. We don't have the oscillation at this moment. Let me throttle back up and get up to higher speed. I think the oscillation was partly because of the movement. I had the plane going up and down, and then because of that I couldn't maneuver it, whereas here I'm pretty much already at the selected altitude that I need to be. It's flying more like it was when I was en route to Salt Lake. So let's see, I'm not going to be able to stay inside for too long, but you can see the speed is still up there on the edge of overspeed. The only rocking the plane is doing is pitching left and right as it tries to adjust to bring me online with my nav point. Now that's not how the plane would work, so we don't have an oscillation, it's just the plane's being really jerky trying to turn me back on my flight path here. Now with that said, I am going to screw with this a little bit if I can get the hand on the control without screwing it up. I'm going to send this sucker up to 6,000 real quick, and I'm going to do it pretty hard. So you can see my airspeed right up there on the edge still, and we just happen to be flying more smoothly at the moment. We're slowing down a little bit, so I'm going to throttle up to maintain that higher level of speed. Okay, nav is on track, altitude is climbing. Let's see if I can get this guy to go up even faster. Let's get this plane up there. Alright, so zoom out one more so we can see everything. We are on track. We are about almost halfway to my right turn. And boom, there's the oscillation kicking in. Alright, so we are at the edge of overspeed. Slow it down a little bit. You can see where I'm at. Now we didn't get full oscillation. What we got was the plane smoothing out. So what typically happens and what caused the previous problems was the plane adjusting for the slowdown as it changed from having to climb to having to level out. And it wasn't just airspeed that was doing it. The plane was just constantly counter-adjusting against itself. That's basically the way it works is you can kind of see the trims up there on the back of the elevators, and you can see how they're currently up. Yeah, I know. What it was doing was it was constantly maneuvering those trims to offset the maneuvering of the plane. So as the plane would pitch forward, it would trim up like it is now, and then when it would pitch up, it would trim down the other way, and that's what was causing my oscillation. Now, why it couldn't smooth that out or stop that was because it kept trying to counteract the movement of the plane, which isn't just overspeed, because right now I'm essentially flying at the exact same speed that I was before. The wind is at a slightly different angle. The main difference is that I didn't come shooting up and climbing at a high rate of speed to get here. So let's throttle back a bit. Let's descend the plane back down to the 4,000 I'm supposed to be at. I don't know if we'll get there super quick. Vertical speed, let's drop this sucker down there. And we'll try to maintain my speed level. So my trims are all over the place now. You can see there's the oscillation. I'm actually flying slower right now. It's just because the plane started to pitch down. It got some lift as the speed moved. And now I'm in full oscillation as the trims are going all over the place. I don't know where the trims are in here. Ooh, that's nauseating. Where's the trim levels in here? I don't know where they are, so I can show you what the heck's happening. Well, I'll just zoom out so you can kind of see what the trims are doing, which is what I'm talking about. So I'm actually flying slower. I'm now under 300 total indicated airspeed, 286 knots. I am flying at a very reasonable speed for this airplane. And we are in full oscillation because of what the autopilot's trying to do to counteract itself. This is not me. This is not my horrible flying, because I haven't done anything. I've just been flying on autopilot. I have not floored it. I haven't done anything crazy. In actuality, what I did was slow down and tell the autopilot to bring the plane down to a lower altitude. I brought it down a little sharp, but that descent wasn't anything too outlandish. If anybody's been on an airplane, you know how that goes. I'm actually still slowing down, and the oscillation is getting worse as the plane continues to try and struggle to save itself. And every time it pitches up, I actually run into problems with my speed, so I'm slowing down. I'm down to 225 knots, 223 knots, 221 knots. Every pitch, it goes down. And you can see this is getting completely out of control now. So I'm going to slam the throttles up. Bring my speed back up a bit. There's no real way to recover this at the moment other than to kind of shut autopilot off. So now, whoa, hello. Looking at the floor. And now it's going to be very difficult. I'm not going to be able to catch this. Oh, I got it almost by one. Okay, got it. Vertical, oops, vertical. Nope, I need to go down. Okay, now I'm going to bring this down smoothly. Let's throttle down a little more, and you can see that now we're flying in a downward direction smoothly. We told it to pitch in a certain way, and the oscillation is gone. Hey, I fixed it by knowing how to fly the plane. So that's pretty much a visual representation of my rebuttal to the comment that it was my fault and my insane flying that was causing the problem. No, I am not an expert. I am not a professional, but I'm not ignorant of what's going on. And this, I hope, proves my point that there's some serious problems with the way this game is handling flight controls, weather, interactivity, and autopilot. I mean, look at this plane rocking back and forth. Have you ever been on a plane where autopilot is making a turn that's just constantly rocking like this all the time, every single turn? No. Even if you're in winds or in a rainstorm, yeah, you're bouncing because of turbulence. And you don't see this plane bouncing because of turbulence. What you see is the plane rocking left and right because it's constantly making calculations to correct its turn. It doesn't do that. It just makes a nice smooth turn at a set angle, and that's the way it does it. It wouldn't be making all these micro adjustments. It might, okay, I'll take that back. It'll make micro adjustments, but it won't be making these major ones to constantly pitch the plane 5, 10, 15 degrees all over the place as we turn to get through here. That's because this is like the plane's flying on a vectored line, which is not aliased, so it's using up and right to make the angle instead of a smooth line. That's what it seems like the game is doing at this moment. And that's just insane. So I managed to fix my oscillation by having Autopilot come in a little smoother. It wasn't my speed, it wasn't anything like that, because I was diving, which meant I was gaining some speed, especially after doing a full speed acceleration. So speed, I just proved, was not the problem. I'm not flying the plane, Autopilot is, so I'm not the problem. And I didn't have any oscillations when I was flying the plane. Now, I don't know if approach is going to work. We'll find out together on that one. I hope it will, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. Dang it. Okay. Another smooth descent. Now, if you see my speed, I've allowed a bit to slowly bleed off as we're getting closer here. We're making our final turn before we come in here, so I should be getting approach. Yep, you can see I've already got the approach stuff on there. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the approach system. I'm going to put my first flaps on. You can see how messed up that made my plane. We are transitioning in. Losing some speed. I don't think I need... Okay. Coming on to the localizer there. Okay, airplane flew way to the right of the runway. You can see we're way off. I'll turn flight director on. Alright, so now it's trying to bring me back in. I'm going to slow down further. I'm going to drop my gear. Try to get this thing behind the plane. Alright, we're getting more lined up now. Yep, there it goes, starting to bank to the right a little bit. Altitude is slowly coming down. I'm going to keep my speed up a little bit here. All Nippon. Oh, hey. Wow, they're right behind me, literally. Okay. I'm going to drop my flaps again. Okay, I'm dropping a bit too much speed. I'm at 200 knots, just over. This is going to be a rough landing with how this thing's pitching. So we're almost down to the white, which is my slow area. So we're coming in pretty decently. It's got the glide slope very well this time, but look at this pitching. What is it doing? I'm going full flaps. Speed is definitely bleeding off now. Okay, come on, smooth me out. Keep me on the runway. Alright, I need to take some control here. I don't know if it's going to do it the way I would like to, but we'll see what happens here. Whoa. Hoo hoo hoo. Pitching woo like crazy. Holy cow. Now, there's two reasons why that crash is likely to have happened. One, I wasn't inside the system to turn Autopilot off. Usually it would auto-disengage when you hit the 500 or you get to a certain stage. That may be something I have to configure in the computer. Again, this is casual play. So typically at that stage, I would be in the cockpit and I would cut the Autopilot and go back outside where I can fly easier, watching all the pitching of the plane's movements. Trying to do that from the inside, it's just too unpredictable. Now, when I tried to pull up a little bit, the plane kind of flared super hard, and then it tried to counter itself. So I think Autopilot might have still been engaged in fighting me. As soon as I grabbed the controls and started maneuvering a little bit, you could see the plane kind of smoothed out a little bit as I was countering the rolls a little bit that were going back and forth and what was happening, but it didn't last very long. And that's when I think I pushed forward a little bit to bring the nose down. It kind of pitched down, and then it brought itself back up. I pulled up a little bit, but it flared way too hard, and then I stalled out and crashed. So that's fine. The whole point of this video was to show the issues in the way the autopilot is managing the flight. It has nothing to do with the airspeed, because I didn't go into overspeed. You never heard the warnings, which means that the plane is still within its flyable capabilities. It has nothing to do with the way I'm flying the plane specifically, because, well, my flight was fine other than the kind of garbage sensitivity here. Which means that I have very limited control up until that last 5-6% where you could see that it popped up. And not once in that takeoff did you really see the slats and everything pop up, or spoilers, to really indicate that I needed to pitch the plane hard the other way. Those never came up, which meant that I never exceeded above this line. So I wasn't getting overly aggressive with the controls, which is also why I like to show that on this particular plane. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the autopilot system, but it has some problems where you can set it up to fail. And that's a problem with the game itself, because that hard left and right rolling just to make a turn, I'm sorry, that's not realistic. Planes don't do that. The oscillation, somewhere in the system, it's got to be smart enough to realize it's fighting itself and to smooth the trims out, where the pilot would be able to grab the trims and just hold it for a second to let the plane smooth out, and then the autopilot wouldn't freak out. I don't know. I don't have a manual for the Longitude in front of me, but that does not seem like the right way to handle the flight. So
Ready to go runway 34 left IFR to Tokyo.
alright, so as a little bit of bonus here, wow, I cannot see the screens. I'm going to repeat that same exact stinking flight. I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing, of course, but I'm going to do it. Wow, I can't see these screens at all. Where's the brightness? Tilt angle. Navigate through menus. I need screen brightness. Anyway, I'm going to come through here and do this all over again. Vertical speed is on. I want nav on. I'm going to leave flight director off until I get closer for approach. There's my autopilot quick disconnect. Your cabin lights. Where the heck is your de-icing? I don't remember where any of the lighting and instrument controls are. Anyway. Alright, so let's basically repeat. It's going to be a pain in the butt to see anything on here, and that really cheeses me off. Alright, so this plane's a little twitchy. I think I have a bit of a crosswind here. Okay, we've got autopilot on. That's the overspeed warning, because I didn't slow down in time.
127 decimal flight for Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra. Tokyo departure Cessna Alpha Sierra.
Alright, we'll be out of overspeed in a moment. There we go. Way ahead of you. I'm already climbing up there.
Climb and maintain 4,000 feet Cessna X-ray
Alright.
Golf Sierra.
So, I don't know how easily you can see it. So let me zoom in. Right there you can see I'm at 257 knots. And we're climbing up to 4,000. If you notice, the plane is not rocking quite as much. We seem to be doing all right, and because we're going up, I'm going to go up to the same 6,500 that I did before. I'm going to switch. I'm still on vertical, so I'm going to send this sucker up a little sharper. Come back out so I can keep the speed up to be just like the previous flight. Okay, we're rocking a little bit now. Looks more like just windage. But I still don't like it. Alright. Yeah. So look at the difference in the right turn here. You can see minor little nudges, but for the most part we maintain a smooth turn and we ease out of it. Right on the edge of overspeed. So if you look, we are right on the edge of overspeed, 307 knots. I'm going to slow down a little more. We're almost up to our 6,500. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down a little bit here. Alright, now what I'm going to do is drop us back down to 4,000. Go vertical speed, and we are going to drop the plane down pretty sharply. And let's see what happens. Pretty much exactly what I did in the previous video. Okay, that's overspeed, so I'm going too fast. This plane definitely has some powerful engines on these little jets. Okay, we're slowing down, 314 indicated, 296 knots, slowing down further. Plane's still fairly stable, fairly smooth. We're almost down to 4,000 feet. If you look, we're there, 500 feet to go. We're staying on course with some minor corrections. Coming up on the halfway mark to our right turn. Leveling off, so I'm going to throttle back up a little bit. Get our speed back up. We're at 256 knots. 266 total total airspeed, whatever. Getting my verbiage wrong, but look at that. Zero oscillation. Virtually the same flight, being done in virtually the same way. We'll hold down here at this slower speed for a minute. Alright, again, not really me that's causing it, so I'm going to maintain a slightly slower speed. You can see, well, you can kind of see. Not sure why the parking brake's on. Okay, guess that screen's broken. So I'm at 257 knots. We're at 4,000. You can see the plane's not rolling right or left all that much. Minor corrections for wind. These are more normal movements for a small airplane being hit by some turbulence. Light breezes. That makes more sense. So I'm going to keep us on this course. I'm going to fast forward through the turn, and we'll come back as we're completing the turn and getting ready to turn on to our final approach. Alright, so we are in the turn. We just got our descent clearance to our next lower level. If you notice the turn, the plane's not constantly rocking. Again, it's bucking a little bit from the turbulence. It is making some of the same corrections for the line that doesn't appear to be as smooth as it should, but it's not jerking quite as roughly as the Longitude was. I say that right as it does exactly that, but you can see what I'm talking about, where it is mostly holding the same level and just kind of making some minor adjustments. You can see wind hitting it, and then there's a couple larger corrections to it, but on the whole it doesn't make that many adjustments. I'm going to throttle back now that we're coming into the wind section and headed down. I don't gain too much speed here.
Japan Air 314 Tokyo approach. Continue to Kaiho as planned.
Japan Air. Bit of a course correction here to line us up with Curvy, where we're going to make our turn. Surprised we haven't been dropped down to 1500 yet, but that's okay. Should happen very soon. There it is. Oops, that's too much.
Descend and maintain 1,500 feet Cessna X-ray.
Okay. You can see my approach system is still up. It's programmed into the computer, so we should be seeing that any moment now as we make our turn to line up. So you can see my runway is right here. Okay, come on, line me up. Just waiting for these things to get a little better here. Okay, approach is on. You can see the vertical ones coming down. And turn flight director on. Let's drop the gear. Okay, you need to be lining me up with the runway here. Okay. Starting our descent now. See, we're headed down because the system's keeping me right on, which is good. I'm going to drop the first set of flaps. Get this thing behind me. Okay, I'm going to come back inside here for this. Off and on, I'll bounce back and forth. Okay, we're coming down a little hard. I hope it raises me back up. Does not appear to be doing so very quickly. I am way low now, so the approach system is not really helping me. Drop my second set of flaps. Come on, bring me back up. Where are you going? I don't know why it's flying me way over there. That's not cool. So what I'm going to do is cut that off and try to take control of my plane here. Yeah, I'm not going to make it. So I'm curious why it started veering off to the left. That was really kind of what caused my problem. My speed dipped a little bit low on it, but again, the point wasn't to make the approach. The point was to make the flight to the approach system. That's what I was focusing all my attention on doing. So I think I got a little bit slow at the end, but you can easily see that this is a very different flight compared to what happened in the Longitude, where this was much more composed, much more in control. Even the ending, it was a smoother descent right into the same output. So that was the primary purpose of this video, just to kind of recap what had happened last time, why I'm so frustrated with the game, and that these are basic, simple issues that we have no real control over. The rudder. I still can't use the rudder properly. Anybody with a controller cannot use the rudder properly. I'm sorry, that is not on me, that is not on the community, that is Microsoft not developing the game properly and having it released ready to go. So I don't mind negative comments, and I don't mind being called out if it is a problem on my end or if there is something there, but I also like to try and come back and either adapt my understanding of what I'm doing or show what I'm doing. And that was the purpose here. So I wanted to back up my words, my annoyance in the previous video and the comment that I responded back with, to show that what in this was specifically my fault. I had oscillation at very low speeds. Autopilot did it, not specifically me. So thank you guys for watching. Hope if you do run into some problems with some autopilot stuff, maybe you learned a thing or two here that'll help you kind of smooth the situation out by understanding kind of how the system is broken to maybe help it fix itself. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.